Starting at the southwest corner here, where I have 3 asparagus beds. This is the oldest one that's 5 years old. I harvested from it for about 8 weeks this year. I'm now just letting it all go to fern. These are Martha Washington varieties, and what they do is form seed pods, and these seeds then fall down into the bed, and these little seedlings can then be harvested. So each of the other 2 beds over here came from seedlings from this original bed. This one is now 3 years old. So all of this is the west side of the garden. I have a section here that I actually did a double dig on several years ago and found that I had a terrible clay hard pan on this end of the bed. So what I've done this year is plant things to try to help break up that hard pan. Mostly these mammoth sunflowers. Also got marigolds and other herbs. Also in there I planted daikon radish and millet. And next to that I have 2 small beds of beans. One of them is tiger eye beans, and it's already putting on some pods. It can be seen right there. And then right beside it here I have French string beans. Some are just about ready to be harvested. And over here I have garlic. I just bought some garlic in the store last fall, planted it. I'll be harvesting it in approximately a month. It's mid-May right now. And then right next to that I have a carrot box. I should be able to harvest them pretty soon as well. Next to that I have some onion sets that I put out. Once you start seeing the stems breaking off like so many of these are doing, that means it's time to harvest them. Next to the onions I have a small herbal garden. Got basil, have zinnias growing in the midst of them. Have some sage there, some parsley and several other things. Several blooming zinnias on this end. And here I have a small bed of lettuce. And then these are banana peppers. These got hit early on pretty heavily with slugs, but since I've treated for slugs, they've been growing better. I have 4 tomato plants. These are black cherry tomatoes. Not growing as well as I would like, but they are setting some fruit already. There's one in particular. Moving over to the next bed, I have a bed of cantaloupe planted at intervals. There are some seedlings coming up. And then here's an okra bed. I did some transplants as well that I can use to fill in the gaps. I have another variety of tomato here. And over here are the 3 sisters beds that I've shown several videos of. And this is the squash plant that's been under attack by the squash bugs and the squash vine borers. And then the rest of this, of course, are the 3 sisters beds. The corn is at least chest high in places. Some of it's getting up more chin high. Pole beans are growing nicely. They're going to start climbing soon. And then here on the north end of the garden, I have permanent trellises set up where I usually grow climbing beans and cucumbers. And this year I have tomatoes on this end. And this is again the far north edge of my bed. This is the northwest corner. Cucumbers growing along here. These were slow to get going this year because of the cool and wet spring that we had, but they're growing well now. And along here, I have what are known as Carolina beans. These are similar to butter beans or lima beans, and they are extremely prolific. I've already got one that's starting to climb up this trellis. Then I have a couple of more tomato plants here. These are an Italian heirloom variety that are setting some very nice fruit. Both of the plants. And then over here is my pear and apple orchard. These first 2 trees right at the edge of the garden are pear trees. This first one died down to the base, but I let the base come back and it has reestablished. This was the main one that I got going again. This next one produced a lot of pears last year and is doing the same this year. I've already thinned it back so that each cluster just has 1 fruit. And probably need to thin it back some more. These 2 pear trees this is only their 3rd year here, as is this apple tree, which is a summer banana variety. This is only its 3rd year here. It is yet to bloom. Then this one has been my biggest disappointment. It's a Virginia wine sap that actually produced an apple that I ate last year, but despite prophylaxis for fire blight, I believe it's contracted it. So I'm gonna have to cut it way back. I may let some of these lower shoots go as I did on the pear tree, but I'm gonna lose these apples. It has set several apples. And then zooming in on this Gala, as I said, it has set some fruit, not as many as this Virginia wine sap did, but it does have a few. I have a couple of more. These are the same age as the Gala. They have bloomed this year but do not have any fruit. And then this is the east side of the garden. I have a central walkway down the middle. Here in this northeast corner I have blueberries growing. This is their third year here. They've been very prolific every year that I've had them. A little bit less so this year, but I'm still seeing a lot of fruit setting. This vine in particular. These are a mix of different varieties of rabbit's eye. Then on this end are the Roma tomatoes that I've done videos of earlier. This is the bed that I did the bed prep video on. And there are some of the tomatoes that are setting. And moving over one bed from that, under the shade cloth there, I have 5 varieties of lettuce. And then I have some chocolate bell peppers. These were also heavily affected by the slugs, but just one treatment seems to have resolved that problem. They're now growing much better. And then what I have here are what are left of my brassicas from the early spring. I've already harvested most of these, but I've still got more. But there's a head that's good that I'll probably harvest today. And then some early spring cabbage. And then I also have some cauliflower. I've harvested most of this. There's still a couple there that need to be harvested. And moving further down, I have a couple of permanent trellises set up. These are all Birdhouse Gourds. And they're looking great. And these are the only hybrid tomatoes that I planted. These are beefsteak tomatoes. A bit of spinach left. I've been harvesting from it. That's also from early spring. It's just about done its thing. Then I have some celery as well that need to be harvested. Last 2.5 beds, with the exception of the multiplying onions that I have growing in the middle of this bed. These are the cover crops that I did a video on earlier. This is a mixture of multiple different species all mixed together. These white blooms that are blooming now are buckwheat. And I've also got sorghum, Sudan grass, daikon radish, a whole bunch of different kinds of peas and beans. You can see kale growing in there. Sunflowers of different varieties. Just a whole mix of things. Also do a little bit of container gardening. These are an ever-bearing variety of strawberries called Ozark Beauties. I had them inside the greenhouse where they were not happy, so I've since moved them outside and they're doing much better. I've been pulling off any fruit that develops so that the plants will develop more this first year. And here I have one of the rosemaries in this container, and I have it surrounded by zinnias. This is another tomato plant that I'm trying in the container. It's got marigolds around it. I have more celery and just a little bit of spinach left. It's about done its thing for the year. And then a few more of the multiplying onions that I was trying in this 5-gallon bucket.